Hello friends, we have seen in the last class that organic farming is not only the farming practices without chemicals, but it is also relevant to the environment, agricultural traditions, animal welfare, sensible use of energy as well as soil and water conservation. It also addresses each one of our family, our health, our welfare. In this module, we will examine principles and approaches of organic farming. Let's get started with principles of organic farming. The principles of organic farming reflect the potential contribution to the farming system and holds out a vision of how all agriculture systems should function in the larger context. There are four principles as delineated or characterized by I4AM that I told you earlier, International Federation of Organic Agriculture Movements. Number 1, the principle of health. Number 2, the principle of ecology. Number 3, the principle of fairness. And the last one, principle of care. We will discuss each one by one. Let's begin with the principle of health. Friends, organic agriculture should sustain and enhance the health of soil, plant, animals, human, and the planet as a whole. This principle says that health of individuals and communities cannot be separated from the health of ecosystems. Healthy soil produces healthy crops that nurture the health of animals and human beings. You must remember, health is the basis of the wholeness and integrity of living systems. It's not simply the absence of illness, but it is the maintenance of physical, mental, social, and ecological well-being. Immunity, resilience, and regeneration are key characteristics of health. Organically cultivated crops enhance the health of ecosystem and health of organisms. In particular, it is intended to produce high quality nutritious food. It helps to ensure preventive health care and well-being. In view of this, the use of harmful fertilizers, pesticides, animal growth drugs, and food additives should be avoided. Number 2, the principle of ecology. Friends, organic agriculture should be based on living ecological system and cycles. It should also support and sustain the ecosystem and environment. This principle advocates organic agriculture within living ecological systems. It states that production is to be based on ecological processes and recycling. Nourishment and well-being should be achieved through the ecology of the environment. For example, in the case of the crops, this is the living soil for animals. It is the farm ecosystem for fish and other aquatic organisms. Organic farming and livestock and wild harvest system should be fitted in the cycles. It should have the ecological balance in the nature. These cycles are universal, but their operation is site-specific. Organic management should be accepted to local conditions, ecology, and culture. Input should be reduced by efficient management of materials and energy. Organic agriculture should attain ecological balance through the designing of farming system, establishment of habitats, and maintenance of genetic and agriculture diversity. Friends, those who produce, process, trade, or consume organic products should protect and nourish the common environment, including landscapes, climate, habitat, biodiversity, air, and water. Number 3 is the principle of fairness. Organic agriculture should build on relationships that ensure fairness with regard to the common environment and the life opportunities. Fairness is characterized by equality, respect, justice, and stewardship of shared worth, both among people and other living beings. This principle emphasizes that organic agriculture should conduct human relationship in a manner that ensure fairness at all the levels, all the parties, including farmers, workers, processors, distributors, traders, and consumers. Organically cultured crops provides good quality of life to everyone and contributes to food security and reduction of poverty. It aims to produce a sufficient quantity of good quality food and food products. This principle insists that animals should be provided with the conditions and opportunity of life that accord with their physiology, natural behavior, and well-being. Natural and environmental resources that are used for production and consumption should be managed to socially and ecologically safe mode. It should be held in trust for future generation. Next one is the principle of care. Organic agriculture should be managed in a precautionary and responsible manner to protect the health and well-being of current and future generations and the environment. Friends, it is clear to you so far, organic agriculture is a living and dynamic system that responds to internal and external demand and conditions. Practitioners of organic agriculture can enhance efficiency and increase productivity, but this should not be at the risk of health and well-being. Consequently, new technologies need to be assessed and existing methods should be reviewed. A good understanding of ecosystem and agriculture is a must for exploiting it. This system also states that precaution and responsibility are the key concerns in the management, development, and technology choices in organic agriculture. Science is necessary to ensure that organic agriculture should be healthy, safe, and ecologically sound. However, scientific knowledge alone is not sufficient. Practical experience, accumulated wisdom, and traditional and indigenous knowledge that are tested by time offer valid solutions. Organic agriculture should prevent significant risk by adopting appropriate technologies and rejecting unpredictable ones like genetic engineering. Decisions should be transparent and participatory and reflect the values and need of all who could be affected. Let's discuss organic farming approaches. Now you learned that soil is of central importance in organic agriculture. Farmers nourish the soil and its biotic environment. They never forcefully feed the plants with chemicals to grow unnaturally fast. With regard to animal husbandry, animals are treated with care and respect. There are no cages. Animals move free, graze on grass and natural pastures. Such kinds of farming, similar to organic farming, was everywhere in the past. Some are still there. There are different approaches to organic farming. So let's examine one by one traditional farming approaches. Traditional farming in India dates back to the Neolithic age of 7500 to 6500 before Christ. The farmers of ancient India are known to have evolved nature-friendly farming practices. They considered the earth as a living being. Agriculture was not developed just a production system, but it was a culture. Great attention was paid to agriculture technologies and agronomic practices. Sophistication came in through genetic diversity, crop rotation, and mixed cropping systems. Animal husbandry was an integral part of the farming practices. Friends, classical Indian plant science, Vriksha Ayurveda, that is science of plants, and Mrag Ayurveda, that is science of animals, in the form of Sanskrit hymns, comprises rich knowledge about animals and plants. In Vriksha Ayurveda, practices related to collection, selection, and storage of seeds, germination, sowing, various techniques of plant propagation, grafting, nursing, and irrigation, testing and classification of soil are described. It also comprises knowledge about the selection of suitable soil to various plants, types of plants, manuring, pest and disease management, preventive and promotive care to build up disease resistance and to cultivate healthy plants. Plants were used as indicator of weather, water and minerals, etc. This knowledge system is alive even today among millions of farmers of India. Furthermore, it is kept alive in many forms such as folk songs, rituals, and riddles. Traditional farming practices are very rarely seen among the modern farmers today. However, some farmers in a few farming communities still follow these practices. Today, organic farmers make use of these indigenous knowledge systems and try to integrate them in modern organic agricultural practices, thus making changes easier and more effective. For example, use of Panchgavya, growth stimulant, as a part of a pest control management formula, and Nijatulla crop calendar followed in Kerala. Second one is organic farming approach. The traditional wisdom gained and practices adopted by our farmers were passed down through generations and became ingrained in the cultural outlook of the society. Even today, the belief system, the myths, rituals and religious festivals of the Indian incorporates in the principles of soil, plant and animal health. The practices of seed selection, soil fertility and biodiversity are interwoven in the belief system. These practices were observed and documented by Sir Albert Howard, who was a British botanist and an organic farming pioneer. He was the principal figure in the early organic movement and acknowledged as father of modern organic agriculture. He worked in India as agricultural advisor. He observed and supported the traditional Indian farming practices over that of modern agricultural science. Though he came to India to teach Western agricultural techniques, but he found that Indians could in fact teach him more. One important aspect he took notice of was the connection between healthy soil and the healthy populations and livestock and crop in villages. He was also called the father of modern composting for his refinement of a traditional Indian composting system that is now known as the Indore method. He went on to document and develop organic farming techniques and spread this knowledge through UK-based Soil Association and the Rodale Institute in the United States of America. His book, An Agricultural Testament, is a classic organic farming text. His work influenced and inspired many farmers and agricultural scientists to become part of the organic movement. In the past few decades, the traditional knowledge and organic principles are destroyed because of the influx of modern scientific agriculture. However, this knowledge has been sustained by some Indian communities, especially by tribals in dryland areas. These areas are categorized as organic by default. Such areas are coming into focus after recent government policies. Thousands of acres of land are cultivated by farmers in organic way. Their produce is either sold in the open market along with conventionally grown produce at the same price or at a nominal premium. Sometimes they sell their produce purely on goodwill and trust as organic through selected outlets and regular specialist bazaars. These farmers are unable to get certification because of the cost involved as well as the extensive documentation that is required by certifiers. Third one is the sustainable farming approach. It is estimated that about 65% of India's cropped area is rainfed. It is mostly seen in the dryland tracts. One specialty of this region is that high input demanding crops are not grown on these lands. The fertilizers and pesticide use on these drylands is always much less. This is because the chemical fertilizer require sufficient water to respond. Also, the economics of these hardy or not so profitable crops will not permit costly inputs. These areas, though not organic, but can be considered as sustainable farming as the input use is less. However, produce from these areas cannot be sold as organic as the certification agency will object to the application of certain chemicals even in smaller quantities. But farmer can opt for converting the farm to organic over a period of time by following certain guidelines. This approach exclusively relies on use of on-farm resources. So, next one is biodynamic farming method approaches. This is a holistic system of agriculture that seeks to connect nature with cosmic creative forces. Biodynamic farming method has developed since 1922 on a foundation of advice and instruction given by Rudolf Steiner, who was a German philosopher known for his world view called anthroposophy, wisdom of man. The name biodynamic refers to cosmic energies that creates and maintain life. This name was adopted by the first group of farmers inspired by Rudolf Steiner's advice. The term was derived from two Greek words, bios and dynamics. Bios means life and dynamics means energy. The use of the word method indicates that one is not dealing only with the production of another fertilizer which is organic, but rather involves certain principles. These principles on practical application can provide healthy soil and healthy plants that in turn produces healthy food for man and animals. This approach has now become a distinct farming strategy of organic farming, and the producers are certified as Demeter. Number 5 is natural farming approaches. Natural farming, also known as do-nothing farming or no-till farming, was popularized by Masanbo Fukaku, a Japanese agriculturist, in 1940. He outlined his experience in his famous book, The One Straw Revolution. The most essential aspect of natural farming is to let nature play a dominant role to the maximum extent possible. No-tillage, farm diversity, symbiotic farm inputs, and protection of soil cover are given importance in this method of farming. The seed ball technique for sowing has also been highlighted by Fukaku. Friends, in seed ball technique, seeds are wrapped in the soil materials like clay and compost and then dried. The physical work and labor inputs are 80% less in comparison to other farming systems. Fukaku proved that he could achieve yield similar to those of chemical farming. His method have also been adapted to suit European conditions, and many farmers are practicing it there. In India, Fukaku is fondly regarded, and his work has found a number of practitioners who have termed their method of farming as Rishi Kheti, literally meaning agriculture of the sages. The essence of Fukaku's method is to reproduce natural conditions as closely as possible. There is no plowing, as the seed germinates quite happily on the surface. If other conditions are favorable, weeds are also considered as a part of the ecosystem, periodically cut and spread on the surface, so the nutrients that they are contained are returned onto the soil. Ducks are let into the grain field, and specific insectivorous carps are also introduced, particularly in the rice field at certain times or seasons of the year, to eat slugs and other pests. The ground is always covered with clover and weeds. The straw from the previous crop is used as mulch. Each grain crop is sown before the harvest of the standing crop. This is done by broadcasting the seed among the standing crop. The result is a denser crop of smaller but highly productive and stronger plants. Fukaku's method and philosophy are about small-scale farming, yet he claims that with this kind of farming, which uses no machines, no prepared fertilizer and no chemicals, it is possible to attain a harvest equal to or greater than that of average Japanese farm. Next one is permaculture approach. Permaculture word coined in Australia during late 1970s by Australian ecologist Bill Mollison. Now it is gaining importance. Permaculture means permanent agriculture, defined as a system of farming that holds the prospects of sustained rather than temporary yield from the land. Mollison stated, sustainable use of land cannot be separated from personal lifestyle and philosophical matter. It encourages a style of farming that puts pressure on the land for short-term gain, which has impact to its long-term ability to produce. Permaculture basically means a system of agriculture that relies on perennial crops like fruits and nut trees because of their ability to provide a more permanent and sustained harvest. It stresses the careful use of resources, agroforestry, self-reliance, and small-scale operations carried out as near as possible to the food consumer. He advocated that polyculture means multiple species cultivation, forestry, small organic farms in urban as well as rural areas, and recycling could facilitate higher rates of return. Next one is LISA farming approach. Low external input and sustainable agriculture. This is more recent approach in agriculture propagated by ILISA, means Information Center for Low External Input and Sustainable Agriculture of ETC Foundation of the Netherlands. It states that when modern external inputs are not available or profitable, farming has to depend on optimal use of local resources, human and animal labor, ecological processes, recycling, and the site-specific genetic resources. Production levels have to be raised, but at the same time, it is necessary to stop depletion and degradation of the resources like soil nutrients, vegetative cover, genetic resources, indigenous knowledge, and social cohesion. Self-reliance, local economies, strong local institutions, and local agriculture are important to prevent loss of sustainability. Intensification and increase of efficiency is possible by natural nitrogen fixation, mobilization, and concentration of nutrients, diversification, and better integration of different elements and activities. However, an important precondition is that nutrient flows are kept in balance. Friends, let's sum up today's lecture. You have seen that traditional farming to a more scientific farming method. The principles and approaches of organic farming are well defined and internationally accepted. You have gone through 4 principles of organic farming, namely the principle of health, the principle of ecology, the principle of fairness, and the principle of care. Now it is known to you that traditional farming in India was significantly organic and was practiced since Vedic period. However, organic farming as an organized scientific practice was brought in by the British scientist Sir Albert Howard. The variants of organic farming such as sustainable farming, biodynamic farming, natural farming, permaculture, and LISA methods are practiced. A farmer may follow one or more methods according to the suitability of their farm. That's all for this lesson. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you in the upcoming lectures. Thank you.